The observation deck of the Galactic Coalition training facility hummed with the usual cacophony of 100 different species attempting to coexist. General Zorvak, resplendent in his chitinous armor that reflected his status as one of the Crithian Empire's most decorated commanders, surveyed the assembled cadets with 6 compound eyes that missed nothing. His gaze fell upon the human section, and specifically upon Cadet Alara Voss and the creature that lay coiled at her feet. The beast was unlike anything most species in the Coalition had encountered. Roughly the size of a small shuttle, its scaled body rippled with corded muscle beneath midnight black hide. 6 legs ending in razor-sharp talons were tucked beneath its massive frame, and a head crowned with crystalline horns rested on Alara's boot with unsettling gentleness. The creature's eyes, burning like molten gold, tracked every movement in the room with predatory precision. General Zorvak had commanded fleets across 17 sectors. He had stared down rebel warlords and negotiated with hive minds that could crack planets. He would not be intimidated by a human's pet. Cadet Voss. His translator rendered his chittering speech into flat, mechanical standard. Explain the presence of this creature in a military facility. Alara stood at attention, her posture perfect despite the general discomfort her presence clearly caused among the other cadets. Sir, this is Ash. She's my bonded companion and registered service animal under Terran Coalition Treaty Article 7, Section 12. Zorvak's mandibles clicked with amusement. The humans and their attachments to lesser beasts. It was a weakness the Coalition had noted in their psychological profiles. They bonded with anything, creatures both dangerous and docile, treating them as equals rather than tools. A service animal, he repeated, his tone dripping with condescension. And what service does this monstrosity provide? Something flickered in Alara's expression, a tightness around her eyes that suggested she'd heard this question too many times. Ash assists with combat situations and psychological support. She saved my life on 3 separate occasions during field training. The general moved closer, his segmented legs carrying him in that unsettling sideways gait the Crithians favored. Ash's head lifted slightly, those golden eyes focusing entirely on him. A low rumble emanated from deep within her chest, a sound that seemed to resonate in the bones of every creature present. I have commanded bioweapons more terrifying than this overgrown lizard, Zorvak announced to the assembled cadets. Humans coddle their beasts, treat them as children. This is why you will never achieve true military excellence. He reached out with one of his forearms, the chitinous finger extending toward Ash's scarred snout. Sir, I wouldn't, Alara began, her voice sharp with warning. The general's finger prodded Ash's nose, a deliberate gesture of dominance. The beast's eyes narrowed to slits, and the rumbling intensified into something that made several cadets step backward. You see, Zorvak declared triumphantly, it responds to displays of authority. All beasts do. Your human sentimentality blinds you to— General. Alara's voice cut through his speech like a blade through silk. Touch it again and it will tear you apart. The observation deck fell silent. Even the ambient hum of the facility's system seemed to quiet. Speaking to a superior officer in such a manner was grounds for immediate disciplinary action, possibly discharge. Every eye turned to the human cadet. Zorvak's mandibles spread in what passed for a Crithian smile. Is that a threat, Cadet? No, sir, Alara replied, her voice steady. It's a statement of fact. Ash has been trained to tolerate one touch from an unknown entity as a warning. A second touch is interpreted as an active threat to her bonded partner. At that point, her response protocols engage automatically. The general studied her for a long moment, reading the absolute certainty in her stance. Then, with deliberate slowness, he extended his finger again toward Ash's head. General Zorvak, please don't. His finger made contact. What happened next occurred in less than 3 seconds, but would be replayed in tactical training simulations for years to come. Ash moved with a speed that defied her size. One moment she was coiled at Alara's feet, the next she had Zorvak pinned to the deck, 6 legs positioned to deliver crushing force to vital sections of Crithian anatomy. Her jaws, lined with teeth like serrated durasteel, hovered inches from his throat. The crystalline horns on her head glowed with a strange inner light, and a viscous fluid dripped from her fangs, hissing where it touched the deck plating. Not a single claw had broken the general's armor. Not a single tooth had punctured his exoskeleton. But the message was unmistakable. She could have killed him before his nervous system registered the threat. Ilara hadn't moved. Her hand remained at her side, though Zorvak now noticed the subtle tension in her fingers, ready to signal a recall command if necessary. "Ash, stand down," Ilara said quietly. The beast immediately released the general and flowed back to Ilara's side, resuming her coiled position as if nothing had happened. The golden eyes, however, never left Zorvak. The general rose slowly, his dignity somewhat intact despite the scattered gasps and concerned chittering from the other cadets. He brushed imaginary dust from his armor, his multiple arms moving in patterns that suggested deep thought. "Cadet Voss," he said finally, his tone entirely different from before. "How long does it take to train such a response?" "Ash and I have been bonded for 8 years, sir. But the training never really stops. We learn from each other constantly." Zorvak tilted his head, a gesture he'd learned from observing humans. "And this creature would die for you?" "Without hesitation, sir. Just as I would for her." The general was silent for a long moment, processing this. In Crethean culture, loyalty was enforced through hierarchy and genetic imperatives. The idea of a bond so strong it transcended species, built on nothing but mutual respect and affection, was foreign to his understanding. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "there is more to human military doctrine than I previously assessed." He turned to address the assembled cadets. "Let this be a lesson. Never underestimate an opponent's capabilities based on your own cultural assumptions. The humans bond with their beasts not out of weakness, but because they understand a fundamental truth. The strongest weapons are forged in loyalty, not fear." Zorvak looked back at Ilara, and if his alien features could convey respect, they did so now. "Dismissed, Cadet Voss, and my apologies to you and your companion." As the cadets filed out, more than one alien gave Ash a much wider berth than before. Ilara allowed herself a small smile as she scratched behind Ash's crystalline horns, the beast's rumble now one of contentment. "Good girl," she whispered. "Very good girl." And in that moment, watching the fearsome creature melt into pleased submission at her bonded partner's praise, anyone observing would understand exactly why humanity had earned its place among the stars.